Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you how to use the XLOOKUP function in Excel in its entirety, using all its features. The reason why I say this is because this function has three mandatory arguments and three optional arguments, and we can use this function with just the mandatory arguments without the optional arguments. However, knowing how to use the three optional arguments will increase your performance and your level of data analysis. I will explain each of them in detail and in an easy way. In the first part of this lesson, I'll explain to you the mandatory arguments and then we'll move on to the optional arguments. So stay tuned until the end of this video. To simplify the explanation, let's assume you work for a hospital and we have this list with the name of the units, with the codes of the units, and with the manager responsible for the unit. Now we want to know what is the name of the unit based on the code typed in this cell. In my video about the VLOOKUP function, I mentioned that for the VLOOKUP function, the reference value must be in the first column of the reference table. But in our case here, the first column contains the desired value, contains the unit name, and the reference value is in the second column. Therefore, in this example, we need to use the XLOOKUP function and not VLOOKUP function. So start by typing equal sign, XLOOKUP function, open parentheses, and first we need to select the lookup value or the reference value. That is, the value that Excel will have to look for in order to retrieve the desired information. In our example, the reference value is the unit code, which is in this cell. So I'll type comma to move to the second argument. Now we need to select the lookup array. This is the array that contains the reference value. In our example, it's the second column of our table. So I'm going to select this range. Comma to move to the third argument. And now we need to select the return array. This is the array that contains the information we want to know. In our example, it's the name of the unit or the first column. So I'm going to select this range. It is important to know that the lookup array and the return array must have the same size. And these are the three required arguments. So just close parentheses and hit enter, and the unit name will be automatically updated in this cell. But what if we type a value that does not exist, or if we leave this cell blank? Excel will return an A, which is its way to inform that the value, the reference value, was not found. It's not an error. It is just the information that the reference value was not found. But let's say we don't want this. We want something else to appear if the reference value is not found. To solve this problem, we are going to use the first optional argument. So I'll just go back to the function, type comma to move to the first optional argument, which is called if not found. And in this argument, we'll tell Excel what we wanted to do if the reference value is not found. In my example, if Excel does not find the unit code, I wanted to type invalid unit code. So I needed to type the sentence that I want to appear between quote signs. In this particular example, we could have used a drop-down menu to limit the choices to what actually exists, but I want to show you what can be done with the XLOOKUP function. So if we hit enter, we have invalid unit code if either the unit code cell is empty, or if you type something that does not exist. If you type a unit code that does exist, we have the unit name here in this cell. Now I'll type comma to move to the second optional argument, which is called match mode. This is the degree of precision in searching for values. This option is useful when you have a database in which you don't have accurate information about the searched values. If you need an exact match to the reference value, you must use the number 0 or leave it blank because that's the default option. -1 will make Excel to return the value of the closest number below the reference value, and the +1 will return the closest value above the reference value. For example, we have the units 1101 and 1103. What happens if you will enter the unit 1102 in your search cell? We will get invalid unit code because we are using exact match because we left blank. And if you leave blank or type 0, Excel uses the exact match to find the reference value. If we use the number -1, we will get anesthetics because anesthetics is the unit code 1101, which is the closest number below the reference value. If you add the number +1 in this argument, we will get cardiology because cardiology is the unit code 1103, and 1103 in our dataset is the closest number above the reference value. Notice that we have the number 2 option. This option enters what Excel calls wildcards. To explain this, I'm going to use this second scenario as it will make it easier to understand wildcards and the last optional argument. In this scenario, we want to know which unit the select manager is responsible for. First, let's add our XLOOKUP function. Lookup value will be the manager name. Lookup array will be the manager column. Return array will be the unit name. If not found, I wanted to type not found is fine. And let's see what we have so far. We'll have the unit that the manager is responsible for just by selecting his or her name. Okay, now, first I'll just copy and paste this formula to the bottom cell. Update lookup value to this cell. Now, what are wildcards? There are symbols that fulfill your search value if they are not written completely. In this first line, we are using a drop-down menu. But what if you had to enter the names manually, as in this second line, and you don't remember how to spell the name Enrique completely? That's what wildcards are for. There are three symbols for wildcards. Question mark, which is used to replace just one character. Asterisk, which is used to replace any number of characters. And tilde sign, which is used to find the values that contain the question mark, asterisk, and the tilde itself. Excel uses these symbols as variables. If you add the number 2 in your optional match mode, you must use your wildcards in the reference value. For example, first I will just add the number 2 as match mode in both cells. For example, if you forgot that the last letter of the name Enrique is an E, you can replace it with a question mark. And Excel will find the unit that Dr. Enrique is responsible for. Now, let's say you forgot that Dr. Enrique starts with H-E-N. So I'll complete E at the end. And if you try to use the question mark, Excel will find nothing because question mark replaces just one character. But if you use asterisk, Excel will find it perfectly because asterisk replaces more than one character missing. Now, the tilde sign is used to find values that originally contains the symbols asterisk, question mark, and the tilde itself. Notice that we have two Dr. Enriques, one responsible for general surgery and another one responsible for urology. Let's say we are trying to find this Dr. Enrique, because we know that this value ends with an asterisk. So we try to find this Dr. Enrique. If we use asterisk at the end, Excel will still find general surgery because Excel is understanding that we are trying to add a variable at the end, not the symbol asterisk as a text. So in this case, if you use a tilde sign just before it, Excel will understand that it needs to find the asterisk as part of the reference value. And when you hit enter, we get urology as result. It is possible to use wildcards elsewhere in Excel and in a variety of other ways, but this is what they are and how to use them in a nutshell. Finally, let's move to the third and the last optional argument. I will just delete this bottom line to be clearer and more organized. I'll add exact match as match mode and comma to move to the last argument, which is called search mode. This argument concerns how Excel will conduct the search for the reference value. Entering the number positive 1 or leave it blank, Excel will conduct the search in a top to bottom mode or first to last mode. If you enter the number -1, Excel will conduct the search from the last value of your table all the way to the top. For example, let's type 1. Notice that you have two Dr. Maria in your dataset. We have one Dr. Maria for cardiology and another Dr. Maria for gynecology. If you leave it blank or type 1 and we select Dr. Maria, we will get cardiology because cardiology is the first value in a top to bottom mode. Now, if you add -1, we will get gynecology because gynecology is the first value that matches this criteria in a bottom to top mode. Now, what are the numbers 2 option? First, they should only be used when your lookup array is a list of numbers sorted in order of magnitude. And you should use the number 2 if your lookup array is sorted as in ascending order, and you should use the -2 if your lookup array is sorted in a descending order. This mode uses interpolation through binary search to find the reference value in your lookup array, which basically consists of comparing the reference value with the middle of the lookup array. This is why it only works with a list of numbers and not list of text values. This option speeds up data processing, but this is noticeable only when you're talking about processing a huge amount of information, and this is not our case. And that's how we use the XLOOKUP function and all its arguments. I hope this video was helpful for you and I hope you like it. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, comment or suggestion, put it down in the comment section so I can work on it. Thank you very much and I will see you in the next video.